Yippee-ki-yay, mother... Because it's Die Hard in Space. Hi, I'm Phil. Welcome to my channel where I talk about all the geeky pop culture that I like and enjoy, including things like Doctor Who and, of course, Star Trek. Busy day for me today. Star Trek was actually on yesterday, but I haven't got around to recording the review till today. It's New Year's Day, and there's new Doctor Who on tonight, so I've got to record that tonight as well. So if this isn't out until Saturday, that's why. But I'm not as late as I was last week for my Star Trek review, so it's all good, right? We're reviewing another episode that seemingly has two titles in different places. It's either called The Good of the People, or it's called There Is a Tide. Which is it? Who knows? I've seen different things on different thumbnails to people's video titles. I've seen different things on certain services where you can stream stuff from, and other services where you can stream stuff on. So, I don't know. I don't know what's going on with these titles in the last few episodes. They seemingly maybe have changed them from when they first announced them, or something like that. But yeah, it was kind of like Die Hard in Space, because at the end of the last episode, by the way, spoiler warning, I'm not doing non-spoiler sections anymore for these reviews. Straying with the spoilers, end of last episode, we got the Discovery being taken over by the Emerald Chain, by Osiris, and it all looking pretty dire. Michael and Booker are on Booker's ship, and there they see the ship, not warp, what's it called? Jump, whatever it's called. Mycelial network jump away. So that's where we start at. Already a very bad situation. But very quickly, Michael and Booker follow them through a transwarp conduit, and they catch up and they manage to get on the ship. And from there on, it's basically Die Hard in Space. Michael is crawling around the space equivalent of air vents, the Jeffries tube, and attacking people, picking them off as she can to try and regain her ship, and talking on communications with the bad guy, with the main bad guy on the ship as well, taunting each other. It's Die Hard in Space, frankly. And I love it. This was a really good episode. Not just because it was Die Hard in Space. That covered the action aspect of it. Some of the episodes in this season have been very action heavy, but less on the dialogue, thoughtful stuff. Some episodes have been very heavy on the thoughtful stuff and hasn't had the action. And I've said all along that, as long as those amount of episodes balance out, great. We can have some action episodes, we can have some more thoughtful episodes, and they nicely balance out. Here, we get both in one episode, which is even better. Even more of a balance. Because we get all the action stuff, we get all the Die Hard in Space stuff. Burnham trying to retake the ship with the help of the bridge crew. And all of that stuff is great, action-packed, brilliant. But you also get these more thoughtful scenes where you get the negotiation between Osiris and the Admiral Vance. And they're the more thoughtful stuff. They're the things that go into the kind of moral quandaries that Star Trek is known for. And looking into more of the grey areas of different things. It's much more thoughtful, and I really like the way they balance the two of them. Now, I might not have been paying quite enough attention, because I was doing the washing up at the same time as watching this. But did Burnham kill that guy near the beginning? If she did, I don't hate it. But it does have implications possibly for her character going forward. I don't hate the fact that sometimes Starfleet characters are put in situations where they have to kill someone. That's absolutely fine. But I think the brutality of the way that she did that by strangling him with her legs, it was very Xena Onatoppy in a way, crushing with thighs, she basically got him in a lock hold with her legs around his neck, and I think strangled him to death, or snapped his neck, or something like that, I think. Or maybe she did just put him unconscious, I'm not entirely sure. But if she did kill him, there are probably implications for that going forward, to have to kill someone in such a brutal way. But it was in a situation where it was her or him, so I don't mind it. But I would like to see some, maybe if it was, she did kill him, some implications on that later on. We saw later on in the episode that she did stun some people when she actually had a weapon. So it wasn't that she was, out to kill everyone. She might have felt that she needed to in that situation. Another thing that scene did was stab her in the leg. That guy stabbed her in the leg, and I thought that was quite good in giving her a bit of a handicap and sort of something to hold her back throughout the rest of the episode. Something that will make the situation a bit more dire, up the stakes a little bit, make it harder for her to achieve what she was trying to achieve. She's got to do all that crawling through Jeffrey's tubes now with a stab wound in her leg. And it played in a bit later on when someone was hanging from her in a Jeffrey's tube, trying to not be sucked out into space, and you could see that injury was played on then as well. So that was kind of, I liked that to sort of add a bit more jeopardy into her situation. Not that there wasn't already a lot of jeopardy, but a little bit more. That was quite nice. And I thought it was just a really fun sort of action part of the episode. That and the bridge crew escaping from their captivity worked really well. We saw Tilly both exude command confidence where she needed to, but also you could still see, as I said last week, she's still got that underlying anxiety to her character. When Booker questions that he should be the one to stay behind, she instantly thinks it's because he doesn't have the confidence in her ability, and that she has to go, but I do have a plan, and she sounds a little bit more doubtful in that moment, like, because she thinks she's been challenged. And then he has to reassure and say, no, I have absolute full confidence in you. I'm staying behind because you're the best chance of Michael surviving this if you're out there. But I like the fact that they both had Tilly being confident, again, when she needed to be, showing that confidence in front of her captors, but also having those moments where her confidence falters a little bit. I'm still waiting to see what the repercussions at the end of all of this will be to her losing the ship. I think it's going to have, as I said last week, going to have some implications on her character going forward, that she will hold this against herself, even if others don't hold it against her, and it might dent her confidence a little bit going forward. The Osiris and the Admiral stuff was very interesting once she beamed down. Their whole interaction was the slower, more thoughtful bit of the episode. And I think it gave us a side to Osiris that we hadn't seen before. Up until now, she's been a very sort of stereotypical villain, killing her nephew in cold blood because he'd messed up. And just generally her actions so far had been, well, sometimes fun, like in her interaction with Tilly last week and the back and forth and the banter with Tilly. That was fun to watch, but she was very much a one-note character. Here, I think they did a really good job of starting to show some other sides to her and some depth to her in a little bit as well. And I wonder if they had therefore done it very deliberately, that they had kept her very one note in those first couple of episodes that we'd seen her in, so that we would be surprised about the direction that she goes in this episode. Because if they'd given her that nuance to begin with, possibly we would have been going, oh, maybe she'll do this. But because she'd been so very one note, sort of mustache twirling villain mode, some of the actions she takes here in this episode come out of nowhere and you don't expect them, which is a nice twist. So I wonder if they did that deliberately. I might be giving the writers too much credit there, I'm not sure, but I think it's a nice, I think if that was the reason, I think that's an acceptable reason to have her so one note in those first two episodes, so that they can surprise us in this episode. Because she comes to the episode and comes to Admiral Vance not to immediately attack and blow Starfleet to smithereens. She comes to talk. She wants to negotiate peace because she wants, or at least she says she wants, what's good for her people. And I'm guessing this is where the episode title comes from. The good of the people. What is good for the people? The people of Starfleet, the people of the Emerald Chain. What is the best for them? And she is willing to make concessions. She has a whole list of things that she's willing to do. She's already started to try and dismantle slavery within the Emerald Chain. She's put forward a motion to whatever management government that the Emerald Chain has, in order, and it should pass. She thinks there's enough support for it to pass, to abolish slavery. So that's one of the big bugbears that the Federation would have with joining up with them in any kind of alliance. And she makes a lot of concessions like that, and she's willing to work with them. She says that she has the opinion that they need her and she needs them, or the Emerald Chain needs the Federation. the Federation and the Emerald Chain, they should merge. And it's interesting because they are very ideologically opposed organizations in many ways, as is brought up here. And there's a lot of discussion between the Admiral and Osiris about that. One of the things she says is that the Federation should acknowledge an existing fact that capitalism happens within the Federation. Now, this is interesting, and I'm not entirely sure where... I was watching it, and I was very conflicted, because I wasn't sure where the episode was coming down on this. I don't know if it had a side that it was coming down on particularly. It seemed to, especially with there was the mention, the Admiral makes a point early on when they're eating some food, that it is basically their reconstituted shit. And which I thought was a bit of an odd thing to say. I thought it was just maybe to put her off her guard or something. But combined with this sort of Osiris trying to talk about bringing in capitalism to Starfleet, which has always been a very, well, effectively it's socialism writ large, isn't it? You know, the ideological utopia that is, you know, everyone, there isn't restrictions on resources, so everyone just gets what they need, and you don't have to pay for it, you just get it because you need it. That's always been at the bedrock of what the Federation is. And here, I don't know, the bit about the food kind of struck me as like, felt like the writers might be saying, well, but you have to put up with some bad stuff because of that. I don't know. Even though the food is perfectly clean to eat, I don't know. I just kind of felt like a bit like, maybe I need to rewatch it, because maybe I'm not getting what they were saying. But nevertheless, it was very engaging to watch this sort of back and forth between the Admiral and Osiris, and this sort of butting of heads of the two ideologies, and whether or not they would be able to come together and form some kind of middle ground. Maybe that's what the episode is saying. Maybe the episode is a advocate for centralism, which, okay, fine, whatever. It's still a good story. I don't necessarily have to agree with the politics of it in order to think it's a good story, if that is indeed what they were saying. Who knows? I may be way off key there. I don't know. Let me know what you think about that whole debate in the comments below. I'm sure everyone will be very civilized in the comments, because everyone knows YouTube things about politics are always very civilized. But what it did show was that she was more than a mustache-twirling villain. She was willing to make concessions, and she looked like she was genuinely out to find the best solution for her people. But it didn't redeem her completely. She's still a villain. She's still completed villainous acts, and that's emphasised later on in the episode as well, once she's back on her ship. But first of all, it's very much emphasised here when the subject is brought up of who would be the face of this agreement from the Emerald Chain's point of view, and it couldn't be her because of the atrocities she had committed, which she acknowledges. But then the Admiral brings up the fact that she would have to stand trial for her crimes. And this is where clearly her selfishness comes in the sense that, okay, she's willing to make a lot of concessions, but she's not willing to make that concession. She's willing to not be the face of it, but she's not willing to suffer for it herself, personally. And that is where the negotiations break down, and she leaves. And as I said, later on, this gets sort of delved into a little bit more in terms of her, you know, her methods that she uses to get what she wants. She may have noble ambitions in a way, but she's willing to do horrendous things to achieve them. And that's brought up as well between a conversation between Stamets and the scientist that works for her. Again, maybe I should have been paying more attention, but was it implied that that was her husband, partner? Or was it implied that the scientist had another Orion partner that he'd had kids with? I'm not entirely sure. But because I thought he was talking about her when he was talking about having had children with an Orion. But then he talks about when he was a child and she found him, so I don't know. The age difference might mess that up a little bit, possibly, or maybe not. I don't know. He clearly has a high opinion of her, and when Stamets starts to bring up some of the bad things that she has done, you can see the doubt start coming in, and he starts to resist it. But then when later on the bridge, and she kills I've forgotten the character's name, but the Andorian that is with the Discovery crew, you can see the look on that scientist's face that, oh, okay, maybe they were right. Maybe she does go too far. So it's still interesting. I just think this whole episode has added a whole lot more to her character, a whole lot more grey area to her character. She's not completely good. She's not completely bad. She's somewhere in the middle. She still does despicable acts. She's still not necessarily redeemable, but the grey makes it more interesting. Talking of Stamets, it's fantastic acting from him as well, especially when Michael rescues him and he immediately wants to jump the ship to rescue his husband, and also when he finds out that Adira, his new surrogate child, is there as well, he wants to go and rescue them as well. So, and Michael has to stop him, because that's going to endanger everyone in the Federation if they just go and do that. Michael wants to get Stamets off the ship and away so that the Emerald Chain can't use the spore drive anymore. That's her priority. That's what she thinks will save most lives. So she, captures him, and basically Vulcan nerve pitches Stamets so that he doesn't make the jump to save his family, and ejects him out of the ship. And the scene between those two was so good. The general anger that Stamets has, I think he played it so well and got across that feeling of desperation, of the feeling that he felt betrayed by Michael, as he says, we came into the future for you and you're doing this to me. I'm really interested to see what the repercussions of that between the two characters are going forward. I hope they are some, because otherwise it's a little bit hollow. But at the moment, especially if I hope Culber doesn't die again, because we've done that. And I hope Adira doesn't die, because they're new, and I don't, we're still getting to know them. I don't think that killing them now would be good. But if something could happen to one of them, that they're maybe, I don't know, losing an arm or something, that Stamets can then blame Michael for as well, and go, look, I told you we should have gone back and got them. That could be really interesting in future seasons. It's also really interesting that Michael is the one going, no, it's wrong to do this. You're putting your personal reasons above the safety of everyone else. Because that's been Michael in the past. She has done what she wants to do, in spite of what's best for the crew, on multiple occasions in the first two seasons. She's even done it this season. So the fact that she is now the one going, okay, you got to stop this, either makes her a hypocrite or means that she's learnt from her mistakes. I'm not sure which it is yet, but it's one of those two. All in all, I thought this was a fantastic episode. It may even be one of my favourites of the season. It was a really strong episode. Like I said, had some good, thoughtful bits with the Admiral and such, and had the sort of more action-packed stuff with Burnham and the crew on the ship trying to take it back. All very good stuff. I'm excited to see what happens next week. We didn't get anything from Saru and Culber and Adira down on the Dilithium planet this week, so they've been left there. We don't know what's been going on with them, but it looks very much like we're going there next week, because Booker gave up, well, he didn't give up the location exactly. He gave up the fact that he knew where there was a load of dilithium, and the Osiris guessed where it would be in that nebula, and he was going to give her the information if she spared the Andorian's life, but she killed him anyway, and then is going to use some kind of true serum on Booker. So it looks like we're probably going back to that planet next week. Hopefully it won't cause another burn, because obviously that Kelpian is still down there. We don't know what's going to happen there. I imagine it might be a very stressful situation if loads of people with guns turn up. We might get another burn situation, or I imagine they will eventually prevent it, but that will be That will be the risk throughout the episode. Looking forward to seeing what they do with it. I very much enjoyed this episode. What did you think? Let me know in the comments below. And I will see you next week. Thank you for watching. Goodbye.